Homeownership. Growing up throughout my time, that has been the status symbol of mom and dad, you don't have to worry about me no more. I got it all figured out. It also has been one of the major failed attempts that I've seen people make, and hell, I even made it myself on my first time going out buying a home to live in. For this video, we're going to try to tackle that stigma. We're going to give the process on the best way to acquire your first home. We're going to look at the best way to get the best price point, how to work the deal, and the best time for the deal. If you stick with me through this video, you will see some nuances that you don't see talked about a lot on other channels or on a lot of other places, even when you're talking to a real estate agent. It's a rhyme and reason behind that, and we'll discuss it in the video. Stay with the channel, follow me all the way to the end, and let's get into the process. Hey, welcome back everybody. This is Kirby from The Process. I usually start the video off on giving a quick preview on what makes me a person that has insight into the subject matter that we're talking about. And the thing that gives me a little insight in it is I bought my house right before the great financial crash, December 2007. It was an epic fail of epic proportions. Of course, now me looking back at hindsight, I thought everybody buys a house. A house is an investment. That's what you're supposed to do. And I proceeded to make a lot of bad decisions in that process. So after I got out of that situation, I sold that home. It took me about another 4 years before I went and bought another property. But this time I was more knowledgeable. And then the next property I proceeded to buy, I was able to get a $62,000 discount. And with the knowledge I had and the knowledge that I kept obtaining, I was able to acquire 31 more properties using some of these same methods. And all 31 properties I got at or below list price. So I'm going to give you the nuance into that, the things that I did, the reasons why when I attacked these strategies, what I did, and hopefully you can use some of the base points and things that I've learned so you can get that first house and make the house you buy an asset and not a liability. All right, just starting off, let's go through a couple steps. And of course, through the process of this video, you're going to see that I'm going to have some variations to this. So let me just knock out the key points when you're buying your first home to live in. One is check your finances. Check your finances, meaning you want to get rid of all the consumer debt. You want to reduce your credit card payments or eliminate your credit card debt before you go in, because one of the key elements to buying a property is debt to income ratio. Some companies out there is giving you 35, 30%, 40% DTI, debt to income. So you want to eliminate as much debt as you can on the consumer side so that when they factor in the price of your home or the amount that you can afford is way higher than what you really need. So eliminating that debt just give you a more comfort level, a more leeway that you don't have to worry about disapprovals or mortgage companies or underwriters saying no, they won't allow you to purchase a property through their facilities. Number two, get a pre-approval. And this is something I see people do a lot of. They go house hunting or house searching, but they don't get a pre-approval letter. The first thing is you might as well go through the pre-approval process to see what the mortgage company will tell you. Hey, this is what you're able to afford. If it's $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, hell, even $800,000 to $1 million. The key is that is the max number that they say you can afford, but that is not the max number that you will use. So of course, the higher number, the better, but the key is you don't want to use all the money that you're pre-approved for. There is key elements to this. You want to be able to afford your car payments, your house payment with one income if you're living in a dual income household. But if you're a single person going to buy a house, you want to have the ability to have 50% of your income. That's including house payment, utilities, and car payment, and all the other things that go along with it. So 50% of your income. So that is a key element there. So just because they pre-approve you for a number, that does not mean that's the number that you will use or that's the price point that you will look at for a house. Just giving you a reference point for me, the house that I live in now, the pre-approval rate was I think $600,000, $700,000. It could have been more, but we weren't paying attention to that. We knew that we was not paying more than $200,000 for the property. And even with being able to pay $200,000 for a property, or us having the ability to pay $200,000 in cash for a property, we still wanted a lower price than that. Number three, finding a real estate agent. Again, you'll see in this video that I will talk differences about real estate agents, but if you feel more comfortable using a real estate agent for your buy side, great. Of course, the more tools you put in your toolbox, the more things that you understand about real estate, you will understand that a buying agent is not needed. And actually, a buying agent will actually get in the way of the process. But I'm not here to talk bad about buying agents. I'm just letting you know that that is an element that is not an end-all be-all to close a real estate deal. And then, then you'll find the house, and then you'll make an offer, and then you will, get the home inspection, and then you'll get the appraisal, then you'll finalize the mortgage. Those are elements that's along the way, but I use those elements that's along the way as not just a step in the process, but that's a step to get the price of the home lower. But again, we'll talk about that further in this video. And with all that being said, let's get into it. First up, you have to understand the mindset of what goes into buying a house. It should not be an emotional decision. And I say that like emotions, that's easy to get rid of. It's not. It's the thing that we've been hearing all our lives. Oh, your goal is to get a home, get a family. That's the hallmark of what you've been ingrained into you your whole life, the American dream. But the key of it is to obtain it smartly. Like I said at the beginning of this video, and did the mistake in my first home buying. Didn't have any mentorship, didn't have any guidance. The real estate agent, they just looking for a commission. So I proceeded to get into a deal. I didn't know anything about property taxes. I didn't know anything about insurance. I went from paying around $940 a month. 3 years later, my mortgage was at $1,400 a month. So I'm just trying to get people to avoid these situations, learn from the mistakes that I made. You don't want emotions to control the narrative of your purchase. You don't want emotions to control your wallet. You don't want emotions to say, hey, this is a must-have, but you're paying egregiously above what it costs for a must-have. Understand, this will be your first property. Most of the time, the first house you purchase will not be your forever home. No matter how much you like a house, it's usually not your forever home, because life situations change. You might start in this home and you have 0 kids, but after you get 2, 3, 4 kids, now you got to readjust life. Job changes happen. So there's a lot of nuances that go on that your first home will not be your forever home. So understand the application of the now, but also understand that you want to make sure you're in a better position to progress in the future. Now you got to understand the timing. The timing is important because you got to understand what the market is doing. Between March and September, those are the optimal selling times during the year. And the reason why those are the most optimal times is the demand. People are looking for new homes to live in. If I'm a buyer and I want the best deal, I want the best everything, trying to compete with everybody trying to buy homes is not the best strategy. Those times are the worst times because those are the times kids are out of school. It's the best time to move because you don't want to change kids' school districts in between the school year. So if you're looking for the best deal, is not during those times, March and September. I understand life happens, situations happen, but the thing is you want to avoid those times of years because the sellers, they're less optimal to change their price. The demand will be higher. They're less likely to give concessions. They put their house on the market during this time because they want the optimal price that they can get. When you go on these third-party websites, Zillows, the Redfins, the MLS, all these home buying sites, the price that you see for a house is not the value of the house. The price that you see for a house is the price the seller wants you to pay. It may be inflated because they understand that somebody's going to come and offer something lower. So they don't want to put the price that they're okay with receiving, and then you try to talk them down lower. So they elevate the price to factor in a couple things like realtors' commission, closing costs, and other things. Their net cost will be closer to what they want to take home. The price itself is not the true worth of the house. That is just a price that the seller wants. That's the same if you You bought a pair of Jordans, you paid $200 for the Jordans, and you say, hey, I want $400. Now, of course, we all know it's not worth $400, but you only need one person to pay $400, and then that's what you get. If you can find the sucker out there to pay you the $400, then game on. But that's what the list price on these websites mean. That does not mean that's what the value of the property is. A property is worth what somebody will pay for. A property is worth what the comps in the area say the last sale was. It's not just worth the random number that they just came up with. They might have something that you want, but that don't mean you pay through the nose. There's other avenues and approaches to get what you want without paying out of the box, out of your comfort zone, just to acquire a property. The most optimal time for me to buy properties in general is October through February, because most of the houses that's still on the market October to February is the houses that, hey, they didn't get their price during the home buying season where demand was high. Another reason is because the house been on the market more than 30, 45, 60, 90 days, they're more likely to take a lesser price. If they have the tags of motivated seller in their description of the property, they're willing to take a more aggressive price. That's why those are the hallmarks of when I want to look for a property, because now the emotional aspect is out of it. The thing that I'm looking for is to get the best deal. What I don't want to happen is I don't want my income to be so much penetrated by just the quote unquote ideal of home ownership that we're spending most of our income to facilitate this home than to do all the other things that we want to do in life. And the reason why I focus on freed up capital is because this is one thing that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to home ownership. Understand, when you was at that rental apartment, you was paying, let's say, $1,000 a month. Let's say you find a home and you're paying $1,000 a month. When you're renting a place, $1,000 is the most you have to pay to live in that place. Now, of course, I know utilities and all that other stuff, but just to live there, $1,000 a month is the most you have to pay. When you go to home ownership, the $1,000 mortgage is the least amount you have to pay to live in that property. The reason why I say the least is because you have hot water tanks to go out, AC units to go out. Every 15 to 25 years, you're going to have to replace the roofing. You're going to have lawn care service. You're going to have plumbing maintenance. You're going to have all these other different aspects out there. I know it's pundits out there say, oh, well, when you're paying $1,000, you're paying for all that other extra stuff. It's not true. If you get into a rental unit and you're paying $1,000 a month, the landlord, his mortgage is probably $650 a month. So it's about a $350 gap. If the furnace or the AC unit goes out, that's $7,000 to $15,000 that owner of the property, not you as a tenant, have to come up with. Now, eventually, if you rent the property for 10, 15 years with the cash flow, they will probably make that money back in that time. But your rent for that year is locked in at that price. The owner, they still got to foot the bill for the $15,000, $7,000, what have you. But when you're a homeowner, you paying that $1,000 mortgage and an AC unit go out and it's $7,000. You have to pay the $7,000 on top of paying the mortgage. If the hot water tank go out, you have to pay the $800 to $1,200 that it costs for the hot water tank. If the toilet or if plumbing issues happen, you have to pay the price for that on top of the mortgage. It sounds good to say I own a house, but understand the responsibility with owning a house also. The ultimate goal for you as a home buyer is not to be house poor. House poor mean, yeah, you got a big, lovely house, but most of your paycheck, most of your spouse's paycheck is going to maintain in the house, and then you don't have the freed up funds to do all the things that you want to do, because now paying that mortgage is a need to do in life. What I don't want you to do is get your head over your skis and say, I need $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 property just because that's what I want right now. What we want in our first initial home is paying less than what I owed in rent, just a few amenities that I want that I can say is mine, and then I go on about life. And I keep stacking my bread to do something else bigger, better later. I improve what I have to make the value of that go up bigger, better later. But what I'm not trying to do, especially in my 20s and 30s, is trying to put all my money into the house, and then I'm just sitting here saying, oh, I can't even afford to go to an IHOP breakfast. What I'm shooting for is for you to be able to acquire a property it can easily be maintained on one person's salary, and I'm using the idea that two people are joining. So the other partner's income is free and clear, so you can still go out and do what you want to do. Now that we talked about the time of the year to look between October and February, the first thing I do is I just pick an area. Now, for me, I'm picking Tampa just for this exercise, but pick what area you want to live in. The first thing that I look at is days on Zillow or days on market. I'm going to look at is 30 days or more. I don't care about anything that's been on the market less than 30 days because usually they are steadfast in their price. There is no wiggle room. 30 days or more, this is the list that comes up. Enter this out more of taking out multifamilies also, taking out land lots. Let's take out those two. We can put townhomes in there, and then manufactured homes, we can take those out also, just to make this slate clean. We can list it from high to low, low to high, however you want to do your gambit. But for me, I just look at what area I want to be in. Let's just say, for instance, I want to be here in the town and country area. I did my research, and I know town and country area is one of the best places that I want to live, close to my job and the amenities that surround that area. Being a first-time home buyer, I don't want the $1 million property. Of course, you have to look for crime rates and things of that nature. So we got $1 million homes all the way to $276,000 homes. What you want to look for is the worst home in the best neighborhood. Nope, I know that sounds crazy. You want the worst home in the best neighborhood. So let's just say you need at least 3 bedrooms because you might have kids, folks, whatever. Let's just go 1.5 bath. We're going to apply that. Now, we didn't set our parameters of what we need. Not what we want, what we need. We looking through this, we scaling through it, we see something. All right, we got a townhome, it's $229. Good neighborhood, 3.3, $229. Just doing a quick snapshot of it. Looks pretty decent. Get you where you need to be. Again, this is the initial home. It's not forever. The mortgage right now is $2,181. Of course, the person who owns this property right now is not paying $2,081 in mortgage. That is what the next buyer will have to pay. The seller right now is probably paying $600, $800 a month, or hell, they probably even own it free and clear. So let's get that understood. This is what the next buyer will have to pay. So let's just say this is the place that you want. The first thing I'm trying to do is get the price lower. It will cost us around $1,200 to $1,500 a month range. That is the goal. And the reason why we want $1,200 to $1,500 a month, I want to have one person in the partnership to be able to comfortably afford this. So if a partner's bring home pay is, let's say, $4,000 a month, at $1,500 a month, it will comfortably cover that, and they still have 55-60% of their paycheck to cover. They also have the income from the other spouse. I'm going to take it a step further. I want one spouse to be able to take care of if there's car payments in there and also be able to afford the house. So $1,500 a month is the key number right there, because even if you got $1,000 in car payments with insurances, that comes with $2,500, but they still bring in $4,000 in a month. And the reason why I want one spouse to be able to cover both, because life happens. You don't get to sit at a job for 35, 40, 50, 60 years anymore. There will be times where a job change will happen. Somebody will get laid off. Somebody will get fired. If one spouse can cover all the expenses, then you have enough cushion for life to happen. You have another spouse or another partner that can cover all the extras. That's why I'm looking at the price, because again, remember, this is the beginning stages of home ownership, and of course you will upgrade and do all that other special stuff. We are in the spring buying season, $229,000. My goal is to get the price down. So I'm sitting here waiting to let this time pass, wait till we get to September and see where we're at. I'm gonna go here, and then now you see we have 30 days on market. I'm just gonna bring it down to 90 days on market. This is usually in my wheelhouse. The reason why 90 days on market is very important, because usually real estate agents with the sellers are for about 90 to 120 days. So when you get to that 90 to 120 days on market, that's when sellers are just trying to sell the property to offload it. Realtors are looking to find a way to sell the property because they're about to lose the contract and they're going to lose their commission, even though they've been spending 90 to 120 days trying to figure it out. So I always go to the 90 days, but I just wanted to give you a 30-day parameter to look at, because they have more wiggle room after it's set on the market for 30 days. They're willing to wheel and deal. Now we go to the 120 days, and I'm just looking at this here. We're still in the same counter-country area. We're still looking for the same price range. So now, this has been on the market. Now remember, the other one was $229. I don't know if it's as good, but same dynamics. In 3, look at the price. Price is $199, so it's $200,000. It's been on the market for 120 days. So there's more wiggle room to the downside. Let's see if they cut prices on this at all since it's been on the market. So this thing started at $229.9. Magically, the same price as the other one. Then it went to $24, $219, $209, $209 again. Now it's at $199. You have enough room to offer $175, $180, something in that realm, and then you're still in the ballpark. That's one way to get that monthly payment down to $1,500 a month. But the other half of it is being able to put a sizable down payment. But you've seen the difference between 30 days on market and 90 days on market. 30 days on market, they're still trying to hold to a price. But then when you go 90 days on market, now it's dropped and it got wiggle room to work down. So there you go. That's how you start looking at it. So I'm gonna stop sharing this and I'm gonna share another screen. This is the next screen here, and then let's get some parameters out the way. Let's go with 150K. 150K is what a couple is bringing in. So we're going to have husband, wife. Yes, excuse my drawings. It's crazy. Let's say the husband is bringing in the 50. The wife is bringing in the 100. For all us married guys out there, know that no matter what the income is for you, it's the wives anyway. The goal is we want everything to fall under the spouse that's making, or the partner is making, the lowest income. And I'm saying this to first-time home buyers. You don't want to be spread thin. You want the 50K to cover cars, mortgage, and utilities. So cars is $1,000 a month. Let's just say $50,000 a year is take home, divided by 12 is $56 a month. $1,500 for mortgage. Utilities, let's just go with $500. We can even bring it to $3,500 a month. I know with some other nuances in there, like HOA fees or whatever might have you. But it can be all covered on one salary. That is the key part of it, because, like I said, life happens. You don't want to have a $5,000, $6,000 mortgage. Study history. See how long people are staying at one company. So it's going to be weeks, maybe months. Hell, if we jump into a recession and you lose your job, you can be crazy like me. I worked for 18 months. So you want to have at least one of the partners in the group for all of it. And I always go with the person who's making the least. If they lose their job, then of course the person that's making the most can easily, comfortably cover it. But if the person that's making the most lose their job, the person with the least can afford it. Now it's going to suck family-wise in the meantime, but the higher income person can still look for a job that meets their criteria, and they'll have to sit there and take a lesser job just for the sake of, hey, this mortgage payment due, I need to hurry up and pay it. The main point I want you to understand is, don't look for glitz and glamour on the first property that you buy. And again, we're only using this as an example, but it's a good example. Like the outside aesthetics is not the best. We're not going to sit here and lie to each other. Stairwell, decent. The half bath, decent. The floor tile, it's archaic, whatever. It's old, yes. The door looks flimsy, yes. Bathroom tiles could be replaced over time. Not in a rush to do anything. Decent. These are for micro countertops. I know it looks good like granite, but this is not granite. But this is like for micro countertops. But it's serviceable. Only thing you need counters to do, no matter granite, quartz, all that, only thing you need counters to do is hold stuff. It don't matter what material holding it. Just hold stuff on the counters. Again, we're talking about your first property. We're not talking about the mega mansion you're going to have in the future. But everything here is very serviceable. You don't have to go out there and drop $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on doing all these upgrades on must-haves for the house or needs for the house. This is serviceable. You can sleep at night. You can cook in the kitchen. The bathrooms look like serviceable. You got a little balcony here. You can look over the top, yell at the neighbors or whatever you want to do. But it's nothing that's very outside of the norm, that it stands outside the box that I have to take care of right now. And that's what you're searching for. You want bare bones. You don't want the granite. You don't want all the high-end stuff. And then they even got LVP flooring in the bedrooms, which is fine. But there's nothing there that needs a massive change at that time move in. When you move into a property, you don't want to be making drastic changes anyway, because everything you take out, you are still paying for it in that mortgage. I've seen people go get a brand new construction home and tear up the flooring, tear up the windows, take out the carpet, and change it, but they still paying finance dollars for the stuff that they just took out. So don't be in a rush to change it. Again, this is your first home. You just want serviceability, a lower cost of living. You just want something that makes sense. And then over time, if stuff, wear down, tear down, then you upgrade it. But don't upgrade it while it's still functional. So that's one of the things that I want to put out. But let me get to stop sharing here. We found a place, 90 days on the market. It's cheaper than a place that's in the same area for 30 days on the market. We see that the place is functional. But now it's time to negotiate that price. Negotiating the price, that's the part I love. I go through this carousel 3-4 times a year doing deals on acquiring properties, but the negotiation part is the best part for me. We already know the price, the property that we just seen, and I'll share it again. 90 days on market is at $199. We seen another property in this same neighborhood going for about $220. Now we're at the 90-day mark with them and the real estate agent. The goal is to give them an aggressive price that makes sense. The first thing I'm gonna look at, the seller bought it in 2017 for $97,500. I'm not looking at the fact that, he's trying to get a 200% profit. What I'm looking for, he had it on the market. Nobody was biting at $229. Nobody was biting at $224, $219. But then we got $209. That was removed, and then now we at $199. So we know that they're willing to take less. Now it's just trying to find that number that they're comfortable with. So that's why I always, and don't shoot the messenger, but I always reach out to the listing agent. So I will be reaching out to this agent here, trying to get the best deal possible. And ways that I will try to get the best deal possible, I know that the National Real Estate Association, they came up with new regulations on how the commission splits work with buyers and sellers. But I always reach out to the seller agent. I have more comfort in this because I'm doing this all the time. But for you, you reach out to your agent, but the goal is to get the price a lot lower. So I'm looking at the 175, 170 range. Hell, I might even go 165 range to see if the seller will bite, especially with this being 90 days on market and nobody's touched it. So let's say your number is 175, and you say, hey, all the numbers work. This will fit into one of the spouses or one of the partners' income. My first offer will be 160. And the only reason why it's 160 and not 175, because the seller is going to come up with a higher price. You'd be like, all right, my number is 175. Unless you was willing to stick at 175, if not, you're going to walk away. The seller is going to come back and be like, all right, what about 180? So that's why I say come in at 160. And then if the seller comes in at 180, then you be like, all right, I'm willing to come in at 165, 170, 175. You got steps to come up. But if your number is at 175 and then they say 180, then you just got to be willing to walk away because they will take you 175. So come in with the lower number than you're willing to deal with. So it looks like you gave back some of your money and the seller came in. The best time a deal happens is when both sides are uncomfortable or both sides didn't get what they want. So that's why you always overexceed what you want in your initial offer. That's really how it works. And you want to get that all into the framework of one income. I know this video is very long in the tooth and there'll be a lot of questions, but please comment in the comment section. I might need to do a part 2, part 3, part 4 to this video to get a better understanding. But those are the steps that I take. My first property was an epic failure, but then I got $65,000 off my second property with more knowledge. Now I've attained more knowledge in the next 30 properties that I've bought. And these are the things that has worked for me over the years that put me in the best position to acquire properties less than list price. And it gives me the ability to not have all my funds held up in one location, and it gives me freedom so my family can do whatever the hell they want while I'm sitting here in the office making videos for y'all. With all that being said, please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the process. Y'all have a good one.